Good morning, everybody. My name is Bobbie Richardson, and welcome to my live channeled messages, all to do with the Ascension. There will be a chat bar, and if you have any questions, just start off with a capital, and I know it's a question then. So I'm going to be channeling through some information about the energies that are here now and how we can navigate through them. They're huge at the moment. My team is mainly Pleiadian, Arcturian. I can channel through source energy. I can channel through Gaia and Elementals. I can channel through pretty much anything once I get focused in on it, but they are my main channelings that I go through. And I allow them to come through in a manner that it feels as if it's my higher self talking to them. So it can sometimes seem like I'm talking, but it's actually them coming through. And I always seem to look down at one spot when I'm channeling. It's like I'm focused and I don't actually see what I'm looking at. I'm just focused in on one point. Might give you some clues on how to channel for yourself too, because in the end, we are all going to be really connected to our higher selves, and we're all going to be sovereign in that. And so really we're all going to be channelers, because we're going to expand our abilities outside of the limited mind, logical mind, which is only ever grabbed from the past, projected into the future, and been taught, been programmed how to think, copy and pasting. So that is a limited concept of reality, and it is necessary for us to be able to live this linear line of time, but it isn't conducive to the evolutional growth of the soul. And that's why these huge energy shifts are happening at the moment. They are really compressing everything so that we can find out where we have been out of balance within our own minds. And the out of balance is when we are focused in on only logic dictating how our reality is to proceed, which means that it can be programmed. It can be told this is how reality is going to go, and then everybody agrees to it, and then becomes our reality. Where if we are living in the present moment, there's a stillness that happens where we let go of that logical mind constantly telling us how things are going to play out, and that's what we end up creating. It's the stillness brings us to a center point where we can hear a connection, or feel our connection to our soul. And that's expansion, because when we're connected to our soul through our hearts, which is an overseer of all of everything being connected, we can then find out more wisdom through that, because it is everything connected. Hi Debbie, hi Mark, hi Cheryl, hi Annie, good to see you guys again. One day I would really love it if, I know everyone comes from different places, but it would be so cool if we could all meet up one day. Anyways, let's get into this more. So yeah, they're really coming through at the moment with this massive shift that's happening. The more that we are finding ourselves grasping onto old memories, old thoughts, old, oh my gosh, that's going to happen again. Oh, I see that. That's coming up in my reality now. And that means it's going to all play out again. Just this is the logical mind pulling us back into being a victim to it, overprotecting ourselves. Now, really, really important at the moment through these new energies, and they are very powerful. there are going to be those that are going to lose their way. They are going to literally go nuts. They're going to go crazy. They're going to think that they're on the right path, but they're really still holding on to a very out of balanced perception of life, and feel like the outside world is out to get them. And then when that happens, they become very reactive towards the outside world. And then there's going to be those that are going to be centered and still and living through, knowing that they are supported by their outside world, that their outside world is a reflection of their own inner support. And then they will look like they're taking off and getting all their dreams coming true, and nothing can touch them. No one can come near them to break that up, their beautiful story that they're creating up, because they have an inner knowing and support of their connection to their soul as an overseer, and the love of themselves creates the beauty of loving life. So there's these two very opposite things that are happening. One will consume itself because it's not in balance with the new energies pouring through humanity's consciousness at the moment, and one will feel like it's just taking off and having adventures and having fun and loving life. And so it is our decision in the end, but it's a working decision. It's not just I decide to. We also have to do the work, and as these things come in that are showing us where we're out of balance, look out for signs of feeling victim, feeling angry, feeling jealous. Those sort of things are indications of being out of balance. Check in with yourself, find out where that story is repeating and why you have to feel like you have to protect yourself against it. Because even to become a victim to a story means that you're overprotecting yourself, because you get a power out of that in some respects of, well, woe is me, everything's happened to me really sadly, and it's not very fair, and all that sort of stuff does come up. But it's, whether it be the perpetrator or the victim, doesn't make any difference. We're both out of balance. They're both out of balance. And so to bring it back into balance, one needs to only be central in the moment of what's actually happening right here, right now. So if you are sitting on a couch with somebody and you're feeling victimized by what's happening, bring yourself to the moment. I literally touch the furniture around me, and I also just keep focusing on exactly what is being said, so that my logical brain isn't whirling and telling me that this is going to create mayhem and try to overprotect me. So there's some valuable things there to really acknowledge and bring yourself back to. Keep doing it. Just keep doing it, because the energies are probably going to get more and more intense, and the only place that you can be in the end is in the central self of being in the moment. In the end, that's where we are going. We're literally being shifted out of the outside of the tornado and into the center point of stillness within ourselves, and living through each moment, knowing that we can create as we go, and shift our reality as we go, as well. Hey everybody, I'll just check in with everyone that's come. Cherie, Sky, Malcolm, my awesome team is here. Love you guys heaps. Let me know too, through this channeling, they're saying, let us know how you're going. Are you finding these intense energies very intense, or are you riding through them easy? Do you have moments, does it go back and forth? It certainly does with me, with Bobbie. It certainly does with me. Okay, let's see where else they want to go as well. So they are bringing up a lot of new gifts that are coming our way once we start to live in that moment of taking back our sovereignty and our power and our understanding that we are more than just a logical program constantly creating a loop of protective of being trying to protect ourselves. And because we are learning to come into central and that energy is literally squeezing us into that central point, these gifts are going to start to arrive, because when you don't have your mind chattering all the time and telling you what reality is, and that's the limit, the stillness actually brings through new information, new wisdom, new connections to that which you are passionate about. And so you can become more wiser just through knowing, rather than being taught by somebody else outside of you. And so with that wisdom that comes through, we start to develop a more conscious state of mind that's connected to nature, and nature holds a lot of potential that we can learn from, without the old program of dissecting everything and looking into what the brain's made out of, through surgery and stuff, actually taking apart things like that. You'll never find the true wisdom of what an essence of something is by doing that. So it's really through this challenging moment, we do start to find gifts when we start to live in the moment more and more and more. It brings through the channeling that some of us have the ability to do, like me, and others out there. Is going to be overall, everybody is going to start to understand that, because that is a natural ability of humanity being repressed by the outside program. And there's a movie that I've just made, that Bobbie's just made, about that's coming up, and I might do a big talk on that as well. So I'm like saying to them, hang on, I've got this discussion going in my head, hang on, I might bring that up in the movie later on, because I want to actually show the movie as well. It's very powerful. So this is all to do with these new, bringing us into the moment. They keep saying, yes, but this is all to do with us igniting these new beautiful gifts and seeing the reflection outside of us as showing us these new gifts. They still want me to bring that up. Maybe this is a predecessor too. Is it a predecessor? Anyway, to the actual movie coming. So let's see, just keep being channeled. It's now flowing pretty easy. That's great, Mark. Yeah, and there's definitely, like, when moments do come up, and they will, and we are not perfect for reason. We are always going to be challenged with a few things, just to see, are we always in alignment? We will move in and out of alignment as we go along this journey, especially because we've come from such a limited, out of balance, only trusting the logic. That's why science was so big. That's why all the rules had to be made outside of us. That's because we couldn't trust who we were inside. And so we were constantly searching for somebody to guide us. Who's going to guide us? Who's going to guide us? And now it's all to do with coming back to ourselves and guiding ourselves. We are all becoming masters. We are all becoming so-called Buddhas and masters of our own making and creations through life. That's our natural state. What humanity has come through is not natural at all. That's why there was a self-destructive emphasis on life, where we weren't connected with Gaia, with animals, and we had to feel like we had to pen them up to be able to utilize their bodies and so forth, to consume them and so forth. We had to pen everything up, because within our own logical minds we were compartmentalizing and penning everything up to try to keep us safe. And then we were looking outside ourselves for guidance constantly. So then those that were perpetrators decided to be our guides, and it's no fault of their own. It's just the same opposite reaction of a victim looking outside itself, not feeling supported within themselves. So then the perpetrator comes along and shows them how they would do it, because they're very strong-minded and strong-willed in what they wanted to project onto the victim. And so the perpetrator ends up becoming the so-called leader of society and restrictive rules everywhere, because they realized they couldn't control anything within themselves, and so they couldn't control you either, or anyone outside themselves, even though you were looking up to them to control them. So there's this whole big dynamic that has been shifted at the moment. That's why the energies are so conducive to squeezing us into a sponge that's just oozing out all of this stuff, where we realize where we've given away our power, and why it keeps being brought up in Bobbie's readings and so forth about giving away our power and feeling into the lack of ourselves. And some of these lacks can be very minute. They can be subtle. And so now the energies keep ramping up more and more. So the subtleness of our victimization and our being trying to overbearing and control everything outside of us to feel safe is coming up even more. This is why many who aren't going to be in balance are going to go crazy. They're going to seem like they're going nuts, and the only way out is not to fight them. It's not to try to control them, because that is you bringing yourself back into outer balance again. It's about you coming back into stillness within yourself and being present in the moment, and saying to yourself what you deserve to be around and what you deserve not to be around. And then those people will literally move away into other people that they need to control, because they're still in the victim mode. And you will be left alone to be able to create the reality that you truly desire. So that's what this whole energy is about at the moment, to shift us into a flow, a natural flow, that we are moving with the energies that are coming to Gaia. And the energies are always going to be different for different different lessons as we go along, even as a humanity's consciousness is shifting. It's not that the energies are going to always be the same, even for those that are in the stillness and in the moment, because they have an evolutional growth that they want to expand their reality, expand their soul's growth. So there will be moments of just tweaking and shifting that energy coming towards us or within us, and then we end up learning lessons as we go along as well. So there's a lot happening within the individual psyche of oneself, but that is in reflection to all of you, the universe of that person's universe. And that's why it will shift with the stillness with yourself. The outside world will start to reflect that. The more that you go along life and find things to ignite anger, the more things will come to you to ignite anger. If you constantly have things that are you are looking for that rush of anger, then you will find them. It will literally come to you. Then you'll be looking outside yourself. Well, why did they come to me and do that and say that? And why did they cut me off on the road? All that sort of stuff. Well, that happens constantly because you are still feeling that you almost need a rush within a chemical rush to make yourself feel like you're normal. And it's actually quite a vulnerable place to let go of certain things like anger and victimization, because then you're in a place of unknown quantity within your life, because you've never had an experience in this body where it has been still. So we seem to bring these things back into us again just to feel a little bit like normal, because that's what we're used to. So just be aware of that as well as these things come along, and you can say at any given moment, no, I'm bringing myself back to stillness, because it actually always feels better. It will always feel better when you bring yourself back to the living in the moment, just being here present. Question, Margaret, I have huge trust issues with God, so Ascension seems such a long, long way towards that trust. I have been meditating all my life and keep trying. So God, in a logical sense, has been shown to us as something that's outside of us, a body that's outside of us. It's been that way because logic had to make sense out of it, because logic was in charge. So that was the program that we pulled over our eyes through religion. It was somebody outside of ourselves that was better than us. It was somebody always in a higher frequency. There was somebody that you could relate to or whatever, and you have an issue with it because you know deep down in yourself that you are that. You are that. You are God. You are prime creator of your own existence right here, right now. And so that's why the issues come where you get that gripe of, but I don't want to be worshipping somebody outside myself anymore. You already have an inner core understanding that you are that. And so you want to become that. So when you do the meditation, ask to feel into being that presence of God within yourself and feel what that feels like, becoming that. And it can be be a transition for you, because all of a sudden we're being told that we're nothing, and then all of a sudden we're saying that we are everything, that we are creating. It's a big transition. So be gentle on yourself with it as well. Don't be too hard on yourself when you fall back into feeling aggravated by the whole word God and all that sort of stuff, which is just the logic trying to make sense. It's like your logic is trying to make sense out of something that isn't even true. And it's not. It's the truth is what your intuition knows. And your intuition knows its connection to your soul, and so that can come through as being an understanding that you are everything. Then you get to a point where you recognize that everybody else is their own God as well, right? So then you're back to being normal again, and nobody is any better than anybody else, and because we're all just God's creating. It's just that most of us don't realize it. That's why they call it asleep. Yes, I hope that helps anyway. Yes, everything is about letting go, but it's because it's letting go of an old program. This is Mark's questions. Well, Mark was talking about everything seems to be to do with letting go. It is to do with letting go because that's the old program that we're letting go of, and the old program was only copy and pasting. Someone would teach you something, you copy and pasted it. Education, you copy and paste it. You don't have an expansion, you just have a trust on someone outside of you telling you how reality is going to be. There is no expansion outside of what somebody else has already told you, and you already say to them, you are better than me because you know this. And so it keeps going around in a cycle of very unbalanced reality, because your soul is part of your existence, and your soul does know, is connected and knows and can tap into any wisdom when it focuses in on it through, and it comes through as absolute knowing. Just like if I pick up this cup of tea, I know it's a cup. I know my fingers won't go through it. I know that there's tea in it. Actually, I have a sip of tea. Mm. And how it feels when it goes down my throat and all of that sort of stuff. It is what it is. It's a knowing. Well, when you tap into your soul, it literally, you know it. There's an absolute to it. When you feel that, it's when your intuition isn't allowed to speak because your logical mind is constantly saying, no, nobody told me that. How could I know that? Because your logical mind has to have an understanding that there is more to your existence. There's more to your wholeness than just asking some teacher outside of you how to proceed, which you'll find that most that are out of balance in their logical mind and our teachers are going to start tripping up over themselves now. It's not going to be conducive in the future to be a teacher because people will see straight through them that they are just copy and pasting and they are not being authentically true to themselves. But this is far off into the future. We're still in a transitional place at the moment with everything that's coming up. Hummingbird Thursdays. Oh, thanks, Annie, for letting people know that. Okay, so what else have we got here? Hi, Peter. Hey, Zal. Hey, Sarah. Yes, there is a great purge coming up. And that's why you might hear of things that are going a bit crazy over there. Don't feed into it. Stay in your moment. Stay in your family, in your dynamic of where you're surrounded yourself in. That is your present moment. The reason why they keep on bringing in things that are happening bad through news and so forth is because they want you to feel responsible. They want you to feel like the world is falling apart. They want you to feel like that's their world falling apart. That's not yours. That's theirs. And anyone that keeps on publishing that sort of stuff is going to feel like their world is literally falling apart, like everything is against them even. So that's why it's really important at the moment. And I know that a lot of people who had tapped into source energy, other masters of the living in the moment have been saying this for years and years and years. But this is really important. Like, this is the time, guys. You'll find it anyway, because when you're out of balance within yourself, it will feel so messed up. It will feel very messed up. And it's not to say don't get down on yourself if you do feel that way, because that's just more out of balance. Just keep bringing yourself into the moment. Go do something that will bring yourself into the moment. You can do some knitting or something, do some artwork, go surfing, do things that are conducively bringing you into the moment and in a safe way. Go jogging, that sort of thing. So you're just clearing your mind. The reason why you're clearing your mind is because you're constantly focused on the next step instead of, go mow your lawns or something like that, and just keep staying in the moment with it. Puppy's doing great. She's been a bit, well, you know how puppy training goes. So that's been an interesting journey with us and her, but we're getting there slowly but surely. Hopefully. No, that will happen. Yes. So it was a bit more work than I thought. I mean, I knew that there was work because I've brought up 3 kids, cats and everything, and kittens and stuff. I've never had a puppy. This is my first puppy. She's a goer. She's beautiful. Okay, enough about the puppy. See what else they bring up for these times. So just remember that anyone that is pulling a story over your eyes on how reality is going to end up is only their creation of their reality. They're trying to bring in as many people as they can to believe in their reality so it becomes an existence. That's what they're doing. So if you don't like that reality, don't feed into it. Find your own reality that you want to create and feed into that. In other words, when it comes to things like AI taking over and being controlled and all of that sort of thing, don't feed into it. It looks like it's going to come at humanity and take over. It will not take over you. If there will always be loopholes within loopholes within loopholes, and because the energy isn't conducive for that to take over at the moment, and that is because that is out of balance. Actually, it's more likely to consume itself in the future if it is out of balance. If it's in balance with us conducively creating our reality, then it will stick, it will stay. So don't panic about these things. It's the panic and it's the fear that they want you to get into. They want you to respond that way, and they want you to feel like you have to do what they say. They want you to feel powerless. So don't feed into that sort of thing. Just ignore it and move into what makes you feel powerful again. That's more important. Okay, it's not that all technology is bad, it's just that the ones that are trying to use it to control others, that is not conducive, because that's still a victim perpetrator response. It's not a centered stillness sovereign being response. It's not what the energies want to align us with. So if it's not aligning with what the new energies are presenting themselves, then it will consume itself in the end. What else is there? Coming through. There is so much more wisdom coming our way anyway when we start to live in that moment and trust ourselves. And that wisdom is going to be an inner journey. So we are then looking at, instead of something outside device taking over, and this is the movie coming up. They keep bringing it up because this is the big topic of the time at the moment. Now I'm kind of stopping it because I'm like, there's a movie I've just created yesterday that I want to share with you. Anyway, okay, I'll just let it go and let's see what comes up anyway. Yeah, so there is a lot of different new wisdoms coming up that are coming from the inside out. And that means that you don't need any devices to be able to become telepathic, telekinetic, and have the ability to teleport, remote viewing, all of those things. These things lie in the central balance of ourselves in the moment, and trusting that we are living in the moment. It's a fear game within us, though, because our logic's like, well, if I live in the moment, holy crap, I'm not going to be protected. I'm not going to, it's a vulnerable position for our logical side of ourselves. But the funny thing is, when you're in the moment, you're just present in trusting the energies of loving who you are, and so you're only reflected back by that. Anything that's come at you before was from a place of out of balance, not living in the moment anyway. You just kept on repeating the same crap coming up. In other words, when you were a child, you would have had one little thing that had gone wrong with you, and then you would have gone, I'll never forget that. And then what happens is every time you see an inkling of it, your logical mind protects. And so you fall into victimization, you fall into being angry, you fall into all these different prickly responses. And so you're out of the moment because you are just feeling that this is going to come up again. And so it does. And you keep making these things bigger and bigger and bigger throughout your life, and they get bigger and bigger. And then you just confirming to your logical brain, see, it told you I was right. See, it told you I was right. But the logical brain is the thing that is actually over protecting us and creating the actual issues, because what are we focused on? Whatever we're focused on is what we create. And what are we focused on? We're focused on the problem coming back again and having to be overprotective for it. So it's really important then, they say, to keep bringing yourself back to living just in the moment, be absolute present. Remember that everything can change in the blink of an eye. When you are central in the moment, you can shift your outside reality very quickly from the moment. So that means you are safe then anyway, because you just say, oh, don't like that feeling. Thank you very much, feeling, for teaching me that I was out of balance. I'm bringing myself back to love. And then everyone starts to reflect that. Everyone starts to love you back. And even in the family dynamics, it's not just the one person, it's all of you in the family dynamics that are going through the shift together. One might seem like a perpetrator, one might seem like a victim, but you're actually both out of balance. One only needs to come into the center, into the moment, and it will bring the other one back in anyway. So you don't need to control anyone outside of you. You just need to control your own central self. That's more important. Great, and glad that helped, Margaret. If there's an out of balance, it's usually because there's a war between the logical mind and the intuitive mind. That's the reason why we've had wars outside of ourselves in the whole of humanity. It's been a reflection of that out of balance, because if there's an out of balance, it's literally consumes itself. Then therefore the wars break out, overprotection breaks out, trying to compartmentalize everything. We have to fence our land, we have to protect everything, we have to own everything outside of us, because we're feeling lack of within ourselves. So it's a huge, massive shift that we are breaking into. So society, we don't know, even they're telling me we don't know. They don't know. We don't know where this is actually going to end up just yet. We have potentials. Like I've been gifted a potential of humanity and where we can go. So I have like a compass that I'm honed into and I know where it's going. So I know that when I was in that potential, my mind was completely clear. I had no logical monkey mind whatsoever. So I know that's where I'm going. And it's my compass towards that. But overall, how this pans out is an unending potential. It's because it's conducive to each of our own psyche and our own consciousness developing what we want to create. And there are many of us wanting to create different things. Some of us wanting to create similar things, and so we come together as soul groups. An understanding of each other, because we already have an understanding of who we are and where we're going. And so those soul groups start to collect together. But but then there could be other soul groups that have a totally different sort of reality that they want to create. And there's nothing wrong with any of those creations. One might have more technology coming in, so long as it's not controlled over somebody, so long as it's utilized in a manner that creates harmony within self, and there's nothing wrong with it. One might want to do more inner work. One soul group might want to do more of the I'm connecting to my soul and becoming more telepathic, telekinetic, and all of that. That's where I'm going. That's what I would prefer in my reality. So I'm honing in on that. I don't mind technology where it's necessary, and it can be a stepping stone towards an inner self, but everything comes from inside, and that's where what I believe and what I feel is the truth for me. That's what I was shown. That's where my souls come from, and I have a strong connection to that. So it's a comfort with me, rather than other people. Some people might find that quite uncomfortable because their soul's journey has been somewhere going on another journey, and so they don't understand my comfort zone, but they understand a different one. And there's nothing wrong with anybody's there in that higher frequency. There's no judgment on that anyway, but you probably won't have much to do with each other because you're living different realities. Just like even on Gaia herself now, we have still African tribes that are more in the nature, and then we have Europeans that are more to do with technology and stuff. It's so diverse, and yet Gaia herself can handle that. She's amazing because she can handle such diversity, and it gives a playground of adventure for souls to come in and experience different experiences and adventures, which is so fun, right? There might be more of a collective coming together over on one, so it becomes kind of like a township and then city, and then even though townships and cities are going to be more open spaces, we're not going to need the fences anymore, and the collective thought of having to own something that cannot be ownable. Earth Gaia herself cannot be ownable. She's a free sovereign soul that gives freely, and she always will, no matter what you do. So what is ownership of her? It's impossible. We don't own land, not in her eyes anyway. That's just a concept made up by the logical brain trying to compartmentalize and protect ourselves again, because we're thinking that if we don't have a certain amount of land, or we don't have a certain amount of this, then we're not going to be able to grow food, and we're not going to be able to and so we end up getting lost in that logical brain of trying to overprotect. Sorry to hear that, Linda, about your brother passing away. I do messages through tarot on Tuesdays. This is more to do with Ascension messages. And also you can link down below, and I do readings as well. See what else is coming for. Now I'm feeling into your brother a bit. That's interesting. He's okay, by the way. Just have to at least say that. I don't want to get into a funneled reading because that's not what this is about. I'm trying to hold the energy of Ascension at the moment. There was a purpose, though, why he did pass over. Just want to say that as well. Okay. Happening at the moment. Okay, so now they're bringing me back into there are those that are caught in other dimensions that are replaying a negative vibration over and over. They are seen as lower frequency. Nothing's lower, nothing's higher. At the core of self, we are all just experiencing, and we are all source energy experiencing. But sometimes when we have a lower energy or entity that's trying to grasp and control, if you don't know yourself, if you don't know thyself, then you allow these things to come in. And there's a reason why they're bringing it up. It's for a message for somebody that's going to be listening to this. If you don't know thyself, then you allow these things to come in and control you. And that's the perpetrator-victim scenario again of the old program. So anything that has been that is of that nature can be coming up in a big time for somebody that has an attachment on them that's been talking to them in their head and telling them to do things that they know in their hearts and their intuitive side that they shouldn't even be thinking of. That is an attachment, and then there's that victim perpetrator response again with that. So the way to alleviate that is to take control of your own mind again. So you want to disrupt their information. Not listening to that. Sorry, I've taken control of my own mind. I know that's not right. I know I shouldn't be thinking that. I'm sorry, I'm not listening to it. And then even put in a default image, like I put sunflower or something like that in my mind, and then I constantly focus in on one thing. Another good thing to do when you've got negative energy is to meditate on a drum, because they can't stand it. Because the drums sound boom, boom, boom. When you're focusing just on one thing, they can't get in your head. So that might just help somebody that's going to listen to this channel message, just to help with their ascension process. But the great thing is, when you've had to deal with something that is very negative like that, and you've got yourself out of it, you become powerful. You become, oh my God, how powerful am I? Nothing can get me now. If I could get over that, nothing could get me now. And so you become more powerful. So they're literally squeezing you into your power through a very intense moment. See what else comes through. Okay, so there's so many dynamics of life as well. It's so interesting how limited humanity's consciousness went when we thought that it was just, well, humanity thought that it was just them and nobody else out in reality. There was nobody else outside of them. They become the ego, the top pyramid of their own ego nature, to say that they are the best, and yet they consumed themselves, they raped and pillaged, they had a whole heap of things that went on in their history, and yet it wasn't conducive to funny, that sort of stopped. It was interesting. Then I just went blank. Okay, so let's see what else. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's not one person out there that's going to be absolute. Mistakes do happen, and they're teaching grounds anyway. So allow the mistakes to happen. If you allow mistakes to happen, you're actually growing. You're actually getting better at what you do, because you're freer. When you accept a mistake in your life and just go, yep, I make mistakes, then it actually frees you up to becoming more, because you're not worried about it anymore. It's when we're worried about the mistakes that we limit. It's a limitation. We pull limitations over ourselves. Sorry, Zal, I don't know who Archive is. Tell that to those in HQ in south of France. Sounds like you've been watching Archive. I haven't been watching anything. I've just been living my life with my puppy. Honestly, what I watch normally is Star Trek. That's all I watch. I just watch Star Trek over and over. I haven't hardly watched any movies for ages. Actually, we watched our first movie for the first time last week. But yeah, I don't generally watch movies, and I don't follow anyone, because I want these channelings to be pure for what I get. So if someone else is saying the same stuff as me, great. That means that we are coming together closer to source energy. The more that people do this naturally, come to and say the same thing without a logical imprint of someone copy and repeating or copy and pasting, the more we're actually coming together naturally towards love itself, towards the truth of love itself, towards source energy. So that's great. Oh, sorry, Sol. It's good though that happened, right? Because then I got to say what I needed to say about how I do things. And I was actually thinking that before. That was interesting that all happened that way. I was thinking before I was channeling, I must tell them that I don't watch anything. And then it naturally happened through me making a mistake after I just talked about making mistakes. Love how it all happens like that. Okay, see if anything else comes in. If anyone has any questions too, you're most welcome to ask. Just start off with a capital. Okay, so now they're showing me each country is going through its own rebalance. So there was those in the East or Japan and all of that had more, they actually were connected a little bit more to their soul. Not all of them, absolutely. And then they had this massive shift of logifying life really intensely. Say in China, in that really, like, they went from very quite strong. They were holding the cords to the soul, and then they had to learn very quickly. So they flipped it over and ended up being very logified. And now they're coming back in. They'll have to come back into balance from that, where European on the other side, America and all that, they went very logic. They held the logic line, or and that was the dominating energy. And now they are having to rebalance back, but they'll go on a slow. It's interesting. They're showing China going like this, and America going like this. So it's like a slower transition. Each country has its own vibration as well. That's going through its own journey. Wherever it is out of balance, it's almost like they're splitting each country up into different, like one person's energy, and they're saying that's what that country has to go through, that imbalance, and that's this one. Yeah, it's interesting. And we're individually doing it as well, as Gaia herself is doing it, as the solar system is doing it. It's not just conducive to humanity, where there's just this massive shift that's happening because of the psyche of humanity's perception of reality. Everything has to shift with it. Ooh, that was pretty cool. Regarding light language, Sarah, light language can come from light language is just humanity's way of being able to channel information but not logify it. So we're coming through feeling only. So there are those that are very good at that. They feel into something, and then they have the light language, and then which is like the vibrational sound to what the feeling is, but unless you have a logical understanding of what that is, it's empty. So there still has to be a logical understanding of what that is. So someone could be speaking light language and speaking light language and speaking light language and not actually saying what it means or what that vibration means or what that feeling means. And then that's an empty sort of a thing. It's coming from a bit of an ego base because they're not really in tune. They're just light languaging. Then there are those that are definitely feeling into a vibration coming through their voice and sounding the vibration, which will actually help shift other people. But there still has to be some sort of understanding logically where that's got, what that's about, because if they don't know, then they could be vibrationally meeting up with someone with the wrong thing. So there still has to be a channeling connection, even if you are sounding the sound of the vibration, to have an understanding, awareness about it. Because humanity is still learning and coming from ego and stuff, then there are those that are doing that wrong. It's still a vibration, but I wouldn't want to say wrong. It's still a vibration, but if, say for instance, they're wanting to heal somebody through sound vibration and they don't have a full understanding, they just start la 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 la, that vibration might not be conducive to the person that they're healing if they don't have a feeling that's gone with it, that's an understanding of that feeling of where that person is. So they would have had to already have tapped into the person and who needed the healing to have an understanding of what that vibration feels like, to be able to speak the sound or say the sound, bring the sound out, to have that frequency that hits them at the core of who they are, and then be able to heal them. But it's a learning game, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, like I said before, we all make mistakes, and there's nothing. It's just is what it is in the development of humanity. Moving through a logic side of self only being in charge, and then bringing in vibration and sound therapy and all that sort of stuff. It's a process. So but there has to be an awareness of, not just a grasping, well, I've got to say something because I'm here now, right? And I said I'd heal them, so blah, blah, blah. It might not be conducive at all, might not do anything, if that's the case. You're welcome, Sarah. Sky, I used to worry about everything, but I learned to sit back and relax. Things actually take turns towards how I wanted. It's like magic. Isn't it great? I love it how you start playing with, and they want us to play with being in the moment and relaxing and trusting self. They want us to play with that. Walk into a room that you normally be scared to walk into and go, you know what? I'm going to trust myself. Go on, what's and start telling yourself great stuff, and then walk in. And then people start doing that to you. They start seeing you as more than what you saw of yourself before you started telling yourself that. So play with the energies and play with being more in the moment and trusting that game. No, I'm having to constantly cleanse myself every day from negative energies. We all come across daily. It's so time consuming. Any suggestions? It's really interesting. Someone said to me the other day, because we moved into a new house, they said, oh, did you sage the place? And I said, no. And they said, yeah, you should be sage. No. I know who I am, and I know my energy, and I know when I feel something's off, and I know how to fix it in the moment that it happens. I don't have to over protect myself before and do all the work constantly. I just feel into, does this feel right? Am I allowing too many negative energies to come in? That's something that I'm literally turning the corner and expecting to come in. And so I have to look at it myself. Okay, I expected that to happen. I expect to keep on tripping up over things that are conducively negative. And so I'm constantly having to clear myself before or after or whatever. it all comes back to, what are you expecting in your reality? I hardly clear anything anymore, and it's not from ego. It's just from aligning myself with knowing if something's off, I jump on it, and I not jump on it as in jump on it outside myself. I jump on it within myself. Where have I gone skew here? What was I afraid of? Where's the fear coming from? Why is this showing up in my life? That sort of thing. So I don't have to do all the work all the time, because I'm living in the moment more, and I'm trusting that where I'm going is conducively in line with me and how I feel about myself. So that might help. Question, could you please resonate about a so-called celestial speed up? Well, there is an absolute intense speed up of frequency that's hitting Gaia and us at the moment. Even her heartbeat is racing. It is like giving birth to a whole new vibrational meet through humanity's consciousness. So there is a speed up and that's what I call that intense energy. It's like, it used to be, say in, I don't know, 1700, you could see the energy would be like this. And as we've got closer, and it's like getting closer and closer to the point of our true nature of love itself, it starts speeding up faster like this. And that's so that we can because we can't handle this, because when we'll consume anything that's more intense, will consume itself, which is bringing us into the only space that is conducive, which is living in the moment. So instead of whirling around the outside of a tornado, we have to come into the central point of stillness to be able to move through life. And otherwise it feels too uncomfortable. So that I would call a celestial speed up. That's what my guides are telling me, and how I feel about it as well. Sharina, where would you say being aware of how things are hung together outside of this construct figures on your scale of an open or closed mind? See, as though you're talking to Cherie. Yeah, radio. I gotta get that, right? I'm just reading these things and then going, somebody else is answering somebody else, which is fantastic. I love that. I love that it's a family dynamic. And that's why I'm going to start bringing in the Zooms, especially early next year. I'm going to do Zoom collective, and I might even record it and put it on my YouTubes, depending if everybody is agreeance with that. But it will be there'll be a membership that has to be, because I want to make sure that it's the right people that's coming up to. It seems like we need to use discernment for light language. Then yes, you absolutely do. Well, you have to have a channeling ability to use light language. You have to have that ability in any way to do true light language, because channeling comes through as feelings anyway. It's like a feeling that comes through. Even when I was talking to the elder telepathically all those years ago, when she held my hand and took my hand and then talked to me telepathically, there was a knowing. It's a meet of two consciousnesses knowing each other at a core level. And so we have an understanding of each other's reality. And so we're telepathically in tune to each other. But it's not like I heard a voice in my head going blah, 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 blah. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. It's an understanding. It's different. And then that is channeling. Telepathy is actually the science word for channeling. So it's a collective vibrational meet of understanding at a soul level. So you have to have that ability to be a true light language. light languager, because then you'll open your mouth and speak the core of the feeling through, and that shifts reality outside because they have a feeling then too. But if they don't have a feeling of what you're speaking about, if they just hear the words and don't have any sort of feeling to it, then it does nothing. Yeah. Yay, excited about the Zoom. Good. Yeah, that Zoom, that mantra Zoom was great, wasn't it? So I think it's a good idea next year. I'm going to definitely expand everything. And yeah, I will start. Look, you'll have to be a member of my Codes to a New Reality website, which is the links down below. And then there'll be a membership thingy. And then we are going to do this whole teaching, bringing through my guides and everything so that we can do a Zoom collective, and then I'll make sure that everybody's fine with it being recorded and then published and that sort of thing. Yeah, because I need to have the right energies coming through for that. And speaking in tongues. It is speaking in tongues to me. I straight away get from my guides that speaking in tongues is something that they would have done in tribes and shamanism. Same thing, same thing, similar thing. Yes, it's just light language was more conducive title for Europeans to put to what was coming through. And it does depend too on the person's connection to their higher self and their soul tribe and the people that the connection that they're having. So a shaman or a tribal member might have been connected to a more intense sort of vibration back in those days, because they had to literally move through a lot, where there's been souls born through human avatars or human bodies that are very connected to other beings that are softer in nature, benevolent, kind of like gentler, not kind of, but gentler. That was a silly word. Gentler, because both had truths to be brought out in that moment. Yeah. Kids' mindsets are much more open to magic without being judged by older programs individuals. Absolutely, Cherie. And that's because a child lives in the moment more. They do. They can cry 1 minute and be happy the next. That in the moment, they don't hold on to as much, and they learn to hold on to things because they're actually taught through schools to remember, to hold on, to copy and paste. And so they start doing that with their emotions as well. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'll leave it here. We've gone over time, which is cool. Love you heaps. And then I'll be back Tuesday with a new tarot card fun thing. I love doing the tarots are fun. I was going to stop them and I'm like, you know what? We're having fun with it. So let's just keep them going. Back and forth. Sorry, guys. And the channeling, definitely on Thursday. I have a new movie coming out, like you would have already known. And so look out for that one. And I might do a talk about it first and then do the movie and then bring the movie out on its own as well. Just so that you can just click on the movie, or you can click on the talk and the movie. But it's all to do with this new gifts coming away, and what actually is who we're actually letting us create our reality, that sort of thing. So guys, thank you so much, and I love you all. It would be a real blessing if one day we could all get together. I would love that, but at least we can do it through Zoom, right? So until next time, bye.